Welcome to the Darkstream. VoxDay, VoxDay.blogspot.com, and Infogalactic. So, as you're probably aware, if you're on Twitter at all, or if you've been on the blog, the so-called Anti-Defamation League has put out a little hit list of 36 people from the alt-right and the alt-light that they are attempting to smear as white supremacists and anti-Semites. They didn't really make the second claim explicit, but it's obviously something that they were implicitly charging with the basis of that list. Now, I am not the slightest bit interested in defending myself against these liars, okay? It's important to understand who they are. These are the kind of people that Jesus Christ warned about. They are the sons of their father. They are the sons of the father of lies. They are the synagogue of Satan. Not all Jews are. You know, there are many good Jews. There are many great Jews. Okay, I put up a picture in this very library. Who was I with? Did anyone recognize the picture? I put it up saying anti-Semitic fail. Who was I standing with? Not Milo. Yeah, it was with Martin Van Creveld, one of our authors. He happens to be the greatest living military historian. He's an Israeli. He's a brilliant man. And he's a friend of mine. You know, there's a reason why he was here at my house. We spent the weekend together hanging out. We were working, while he was here, that's when we came up with the idea for the cover of Hitler in Hell. Okay? So I'm not in the least bit interested in defending myself. I have nothing to defend myself for. Nothing. Neither does Mike Cernovich, Gavin McInnes, Tara McCarthy, Brittany Pettibone, Jack Posobiec, all these folks. Okay? These people are shameless liars. These people cry Holocaust for profit. Their entire organization was founded in evil from the beginning. It was founded in order to defend the memory, to restore the reputation of a murderous Jewish pedophile named Leo Frank. Okay? So that organization has been steeped in lies and steeped in dishonesty and steeped in evil from the very beginning. Now what you have to understand, and this is where the alt-right tends to get it wrong, is that Jews are not monolithic. There is a massive difference between the Israelis and the U.S. Jews. This may sound very surprising to you, but you know what? Israelis don't like U.S. Jews very much. They don't think very much of them at all. They think they're cowards. They actually talk about them in very much the same way that the alt-right does. It's hilarious. Why? Because they are on the front lines. All of them living in Israel are constantly under attack. Okay, now I'm not saying that the way that they have treated the Palestinians is necessarily right. I'm not saying that they are the most wonderful people, blah, 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 blah. And that sort of thing. No, it's not necessarily like siblings. A lot of U.S. Jews take the side of the Palestinians. There are a surprising number of anti-Zionist U.S. Jews. Why? There's a reason for this. They don't want to go to Israel. They don't want to accept, U.S. Jews, as a general rule, do not want to accept Israel as the Jewish homeland. That's pretty damned insulting to the Israelis, who have, through blood, sweat, tears, and admittedly a little murder, but let's call it war, have built a relatively modern nation out of the desert. The story of Israel is an incredible one. Whether you support it or not, it is a pretty impressive accomplishment. And so, the problem is the same as it was before. They don't want that. You've got a bunch of Jews that don't want to go to the Promised Land because it's too hard. Sound familiar? So anyhow, the point is, but let's get back to the point. The point is, the ADL does not speak for world Jewry. The ADL admit that that's ridiculous. You clearly know nothing about Japan. The Japanese are far more cohesive than the Jews. You guys, look, listen to me very clearly. All of you guys who are totally obsessed with Jews, just shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything about the world. Okay? You know nothing about it. All right? And so, when you're saying, oh, no one is more coherent than the Jews, it's like, yeah, you've clearly spent a lot of time in Japan. I mean, for fuck's sake. Yes. Yeah, anyhow, I'm just not having anything to do with these idiots. Look, I don't like morons. Okay? I don't tolerate them. I'm not saying that the Jews are not an issue in certain countries, but they, like everyone else, have a right to their own nation. They, like everyone else, have a right to their own homeland. All right? The U.S. Jews are not part of the American nation, and they never have been. They are a different nation. They are a different people, and that's okay. What is not okay is destroying the definition of America, destroying American demographics, and so that is wrong. And that would be wrong no matter who does it. It was wrong of the Irish. It was wrong. Is it okay? Everyone has done that, okay? I'm an American Indian, so don't sit there going, oh, Israel is so bad because they took the Palestinians' homeland. Well, I'm an American Indian. You took my homeland, okay? It was done. It's happened. It's over. It's done. We have to deal with the situation. It's called the law of conquest. Most homelands were taken by someone else. Guess why, where I am, in Italy, it's called Lombardia. Who were the Lombards? The Lombards were the Germanic people who came down from the north and took over that part of Italy. And now it's called Lombardia. Then, ironically enough, a group of them went to London, and now they have a Lombard Street in London. Okay? So the whole idea of this sort of thing, who used to have this land, all that sort of thing, it's nonstop. It's impossible to say that. But what we can say is that every nation needs a homeland. Every nation needs to live somewhere. Because when they don't have a homeland, all they do is create problems in the countries that they're living, that belong to someone else. And that's the problem. Omni-nationalism, exactly. I don't give a fuck about Hitler. He's dead. He was an idiot and he nearly destroyed the German people. Stop defending him. Doesn't do any good. Now somebody else said, what do we care? What do we care? Why does it matter that the ADL is attacking you and that sort of thing? Why don't you do what we do and dance for the media and put on a swastika and that sort of thing? Why? Because you never accept the enemy narrative. You never accept the enemy narrative. They are creating that narrative for a reason. They are creating that narrative because they have targeted you and they want to try to discredit and destroy you. And so we don't accept it, even though we don't care. I don't care what lies they tell. They can tell you that I'm a fish. They can tell you that I am a Martian. That doesn't make it true, but I'm not going to accept it. And so, okay, I don't really care about your family. Look, I'm not interested in your opinions, okay? I'm talking. If you have questions, that's fine. But we're not going to get in an argument here. This is not a debate format. If you're going to sit here and babble about yourself, I'm just going to block you. So, anyhow, why is this happening now? Because they are attempting to discredit and disqualify the up-and-coming voices on the right. Tara McCarthy is someone that we just signed to a book contract. Her first book is going to be on nationalism. It's going to be coming out relatively soon. They want to tar her with whatever labels they can make stick so that people will not read her book. They're doing the same. They are scared. Yes, I am also part Hispanic. My great-grandfather was a Mexican revolutionary who was one of Pancho Villa's secretaries. So, anyhow, what they want to do is they want to David Duke us. They want to Richard Spencer us. They can't. They can't because they've gone too far. When they're attacking people like, they've been attacking Mike Cernovich for a long time. They've been attacking Milo for a long time. None of those attacks have made any difference whatsoever. Oops. And so, no, the ADL is not on our side, and it never has been our side. The ADL's audience is elderly rich Jews who will give them money. You have to understand that they are essentially a shakedown operation. They're just like a political, they're an early version of a political action committee. They basically make a scene. They say, oh, look at this terrible stuff. In order to stop them, you need to give us money. And so if they can scare enough elderly New York Jews, those people will send them money. Now they are also used by the likes of Soros and stuff in order to try to discredit and disqualify up-and-coming voices on the right that threatens them. Now it's interesting, and here's the thing, this is something that you need to keep in mind. You can always tell where an organization's weaknesses are on the basis of where and how they choose to attack. Now they made a huge mistake in this particular case, and yes, the ADL is exactly like the SPLC, they're both shakedown operations. they made a big mistake because they just went and picked a fight with a group of people who are actually more social media adept than they are. And so you're already seeing a hashtag like ADL terror trending. You're already starting to see, you're going to probably see the Chans and Anonymous and that sort of thing who do not like the ADL at all. You're probably going to see them starting to weigh in. Now, it's important to understand that this is not necessarily a bad thing from the ADL perspective. Why? Because there's two threats to a small minority population like the Jews. When Martin Van Creveld and his wife were here the other day, we were talking, and his wife said, there's two threats to the Jewish people. One is that we are so hated that people try to wipe us out. The other is that we are so loved and accepted that we are assimilated to the point of non-existence. The Neanderthals, obviously, were assimilated. That's why we have Neanderthal genes, but we have no Neanderthals. That is something that could very easily happen to a small population of only a few million people. So they, while they are in other countries, as long as they do not have their own, I don't care what you do. Why are you talking about yourself, for God's sake? As long as they are in other countries, they need to be careful to not be too accepted, or they will be destroyed. That's why they have very strong rhetoric and very strong opposition to intermarriage, because a small minority population cannot afford to intermarry, or it will vanish. So that's something that you always have to understand with this sort of thing. And so, it's something that, as long as you've got a small minority population, they have to take that attitude, or they will no longer exist. So, anyhow, but getting back to how we respond to this, we respond to this just the same way that we respond to anti-Gamergate. We respond the same way that we respond to CNN. Basically, we don't back down. We meme the hell out of them. And we make their lives miserable through ridicule, contempt, dismissal, meme war, all of these things. And in doing so, we render their narrative moot. We render their narrative ineffective. And that's why we're doing. That's why we do not accept their narrative. We do not dance for them. We do not do the herder only kidding thing. Yes, I think that normies do tend to see the ADL as nonpartisan, and that is going to change. Their action today changed that. I don't have an ADL meme for tomorrow, but I expect that by tomorrow I will. And so, this is going to be good. This is going to help the alt-right. This is going to help the alt-light. I don't think anything about the Daily Stormer. I don't read it, and I don't pay any attention to it. So I think that, I think that we just do the same thing that we always do. We keep telling the truth. We keep telling the truth. We talk about the fact that they cry Holocaust for profit. And that is what is going to make a difference, because a lot of people, most of the younger generation don't give a damn about the Holocaust. The various foreigners that have invaded the West don't give a damn about the Holocaust. And so, we have a big advantage now because nobody really cares. And so, Holocaust is actually potentially a very effective meme. And so, no, it's stupid to talk about hoax, the holy hoax or whatever. Never, ever talk about hoaxes, because it's not a complete hoax. Stuff happened. The exact details are almost certainly off. I mean, if you've ever read any history at all, you realize that most historical numbers are vastly exaggerated. It's kind of funny when you read about these battles where supposedly, 400,000 troops on each side engaged in a battle over a small bridge that could carry 100, and supposedly 60,000 people died. There's no way. There's no way. And so, I don't know. That's the point. I don't know how many died. I don't care how many died. I assume that a lot of people died simply because the German army and the German military forces were among the most effective man for man in history. If they decided to kill some people, I'm sure they killed a lot of people. But here's the point. It doesn't matter. Why are you talking about it? Why do you care? You're accepting the enemy narrative. The correct response to the Holocaust is, who the fuck cares? It was 70 years ago. You want to cry about people getting died? Cry about people getting killed? Cry about the Great Leap Forward. Cry about Rwanda. Cry about the killing fields of Cambodia, where 33% of... Right, but that's the point. It matters because they're still using it to their ends. Right. So what happens when you argue with them about it? You get sucked into their dialectic. So don't. The correct response to the Holocaust is, it was 70 years ago. And so that is the only correct response, because that is the only true response. Talking about the Holocaust, crying about the Holocaust, giving money and creating museums and stuff is not going to save a single human life. It is not going to do anything. And yeah, we all 36 of us got called anti-Semites because we refused to accept the narrative. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that's the same thing goes for all the Hitler bullshit. Okay? There's no point in running around wearing a white wig, and saying the Whigs did nothing wrong. The Whigs are dead. It isn't relevant to prevent future Holocausts, and we know that. It didn't prevent the Great Leap Forward. It didn't prevent the killing fields. It didn't prevent Rwanda. It didn't prevent any of those things. And so it is very easy to say, no, that's not true. The Jews in France are not fleeing for Israel because people don't have enough knowledge about the Holocaust. Why is the Bolshevik Revolution not discussed? Because it happened in 1917. We don't talk about things that happened 100 years ago. This isn't that difficult. Exactly. Focus on today. Focus on the truth. And so, the whole thing is ridiculous. The whole thing is ludicrous. And the only way out is to focus ruthlessly and remorselessly on what is true. And to focus on what is possible today. And so, it's important. I mean, here's the thing that's ironic, is I probably read more history than most people. And yet, I talk about it less in terms of the rhetoric for today than most people because I understand it. The trends remain as they are. What's important is to understand the trends, to see where the trends are leading you, and to see what is possible within those trends. Right? Talking about Hitler, the Holocaust, the Bolshevik Revolution, the Whigs, the corn tax, the Gulfs, the Ghibellines, the question of who should crown bishops, the Pope or the Holy Roman Empire. All of those things are irrelevant to our discussions today. They are only relevant in they help us understand what is going on today. So, anyhow, so that's my reaction to the alt-right list is point out that they're lying, point out that they're liars, demand a retraction, demand an apology, and when they don't give it, hammer them over the head every time they open their mouths about the fact that they're lying. Yes, Christ's resurrection is relevant because Jesus Christ is alive. Jesus Christ is a living God. And so that's why that particular act 2,000 years ago is relevant. Anyhow, have a good evening. Thanks for tuning in. If you're not signed up for the daily meme wars, make sure you sign up for them. And we will see you soon.